Great to see you here again. My name is Luc de Custer, founder of the Custer Academy. And in this video, I'm going to review some elements like the project manager, project management, differences between projects, programs, and processes. But before we continue, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Let's have a look at the first term. What is a project? Now, when we look at the official definition, it states that a project is a temporary endeavor to create a unique product, service, or results. And you can find that in the project management, a guide to the project management body of knowledge, better known as the PMBOK, 6th edition in this case, on the 4th page. So very much in the beginning. Now, when we look at the main discussions related to the term unique, we can wonder how unique the project must be. On the left-hand side, you see Yuri Gagarin, first man in space. I don't think you can be more original than that. On the right-hand side, you see a show, a part of a holiday going to Hawaii. There may be different holidays going to Hawaii. Certain parts may be the same, but there is still some part that is unique. And these are the bridges of Prague. One bridge, all the different bridges, so they're different concepts. They are quite unique, so you will not find Charles Bridge at the second bridge from the bottom of the picture. Charles Bridge, there is only one bridge like that in the world, and many of those buildings are really unique. Now, some things are repetitive, some technologies are coming back. There are some items that are very unique. When you try to build the first bridge, you have to develop everything. You can use that later when you're building the next bridge. But every element has something which makes it unique. Now, when we look at the project manager is the person assigned by the performing organization to lead the team that is responsible for achieving the project objectives. The project management is only responsible for the assigned project and nothing outside of the project. So when you assign a person to a project, that person is only responsible for the project itself. The person cannot interfere into other projects, and that's very important to understand. In some cases, there may be things that are important for the project manager, but these are outside of his or her circle of interest or circle of power, and then they have to escalate to the higher level, to the management. Now, when we talk about the project manager, we only talk about the project manager when we have a project manager who has the full authority over the project and resources. Now, this is typically only reserved for project being executed in a strong matrix or a projectized organization. We will talk about that later. In other cases, we will talk about a project coordinator or an expeditor. When we look at organizations, well, we have to look at the different organizational structures. We have an organic or simple organization. It's just a small group of people. When we look at the main elements that we have to understand how is the power shifting. In the classical approach, we have the functional, we have the different matrix organizations, and we have a project-oriented organization, projectized organization. When we look at special organizational structure, we may have companies with multidivisional, virtual organizations, hybrid, mixing different parts of those organizations, and the PMO, Project Management Office, on itself. An important thing to consider is the power of the project manager. And here we have, in fact, the different elements that we have on the left-hand side, the projectized organization. On the right-hand side, we have the functional organization. And in the middle, we have the strong, the balanced, and the weak matrix organization. Now, when we look at the project, we see on the project side, we have a high power of the project manager, while on the other side, we have a low power of the project manager. So when we look at the functional management or the functional organization, the people are led by the functional manager, and that manager is taking all the decisions. On the other hand, when we have a projectized organization, all the resources are in fact under the responsibility of the project manager. Now, when we have a weak, balanced, and strong matrix organization, this shows, in fact, how much of the power is given to the functional manager and to the project manager. In a weak matrix, the functional manager has most of the power. Balanced, they both have 50-50, so there may be some discussions. And in a strong matrix organization, the people are still managed by the functional manager, but the project manager has the highest power. So on the left-hand side, the projectized, we have a project manager. We talk about a project manager. On the right-hand side, we talk about the project expeditor. And in the middle, we talk about the project coordinator. So depending on the power, we give a different name to the person who is managing the project. When we look at project management, what is the definition? Project management, the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. And that's the official definition that you can find in the PMBOK. You don't have to know these definitions by heart, but you have to recognize them and you have to be able to answer questions that relate to this. Now, a discussion that happens a lot is the difference between a project and a process. Projects are unique ventures, while processes are repeating. I make a car, I build a house, while a repeating process would be the production of cars. The unique venture would be the design of the car, the process repeating the building, the assembly of the cars. Projects are limited in time. A process is ongoing. We say never ending, but there is always an ending. Basically, we can say that a project ends when all the work, the scope, has been completed or the customer is satisfied. Now, what does it mean? Well, when we have a predictive organization or waterfall project management environment, we define the work that has to be done at the beginning. This is the scope. And once the scope is finished, the project is finished. On the other hand, when we have an adaptive environment, it's a little bit different. The scope can vary. And when we are working with the people, we will see what are the different elements that we do. And at a certain moment, the customer may say, okay, I'm happy. This is good for me. You don't have to complete all the initial scope as you intended. But once you have a solution that complies with your needs, the project is finished. Customer is satisfied or the customer is happy. Now, with the process, never ending is also not correct. What happens is when economic reality changes, we have a new iPhone, a new type of computers, things like that. We will stop the production of the old items and we will start making or processing new ones. So then the process will stop. It's not typically never ending. There is also a limitation, but you're always doing the same thing, doing the same work. What happens sometimes we talk about programs, and what we can do is we can group project in programs. Now, projects relate to the design of one specific service, product, or result, and the project management only has authority over the project itself. There may be a lot of different projects ongoing, but you as a project manager, you're assigned to one project and to one project alone. What can happen in some cases, there may be some items in common between different projects. Or you may have something that could be very interesting for another project manager. Now, you cannot deal with that directly because you don't have the authority. But what you can do is to group the projects under a common manager. This is basically a program. When you group those projects which have elements in common, you group them under the program manager, and the program manager has authority over all the projects and can manage the project so that there is a better global success of all the projects together. At that moment, you bring them, you have discussions. The program manager will make the necessary decisions to see that the total effect is superior than the sum of all the projects. We also can have very large projects that we can organize as programs. When we have very complex projects, it becomes impossible to manage them as a single project. We look at the complexity of designing a new airplane or a new car and compare it with older versions. When you look at the cars, They were quite simple. Today it's completely different. Airplanes are very complex. You have certain parts that have to be split because they are very important, but they also have an effect on each other. Now, the complexity makes that it's impossible to manage it as one project, so it will be subdivided in sub-projects, and each sub-project will have its own project manager. So the program has all those different sub-projects. The total program is managed by the program manager, and the individual projects are managed by the project managers. The project manager has the oversight and can take the main decisions, and all the decisions are taken to make the project successful. The program successful. Let's have a look at some examples of programs. Disneyland, a lot of people are talking about Disneyland today, I saw on Facebook. But Disney parks, typically a theme park, Disney, Six Flags, others, there are a lot of projects, but they are all linked together in some way. Large IT and communication infrastructures, airplane design and construction, large infrastructure work, including services, shopping, transport, and so on. NASA space projects, a very good example. Smart city projects, when we look at integrating smart technologies in cities. And when we look at educational projects, we try to make an agenda, we try to make a new school. That's more than a project, it's basically a program, because you have all those different elements that are linked to each other. You have to get the programs ready on time, etc. So that was some important information about different definitions, different terminologies about projects, different elements that you have to know as a future CAPM certified project manager. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and every time we have a new video, YouTube will inform you about it. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye bye.